everybody, welcome back to Mix It Up. Today we are going to be making hummus and flatbreads. Now, obviously it's Mix It Up, so we're going to be mixing it up a little. It's not going to be just your regular old hummus or your regular old flatbreads. These flatbreads are, I don't want to say unique. I mean, a lot of flatbreads have this in their recipe, but these ones don't have any yeast. So the kind of mindset behind this recipe is it's if you have a little bit of time to kind of make lunch or breakfast or even dinner, or you got people coming over, you want some like snacks, some kind of crudité type buzz. This is very quick because these flatbreads don't need to ferment. So you're talking about start to finish. This recipe, including the hummus, should only take about 20 minutes. That's kind of the goal in mind here. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to talk you through very quickly what we need to make these. In this jug, I have 170 mils of warm water and 50 mils of rapeseed oil. Now, you can use any kind of oil you want, as long as it's not too intense. Like, don't use a sesame oil or a peanut oil or anything like that. Actually, no, peanut oil is fine. Just any kind of neutral oil. 50 mils of neutral oil. That's that. Then in here, we have half a teaspoon of turmeric and half a teaspoon of ground cumin. And I've just mixed those together. If you only have like bog standard curry powder, whatever, that's fine. Or if there's any kind of particular spice you like in your flatbreads or that kind of buzz, you can use any kind of spice you want, any kind of ground spice. Basically, you need 1 teaspoon of ground spice. Salt, the mother of all flavor. This is just a lot of salt. We're only going to use a pinch of this. I just have this on the table. Here's some salt. You will need salt. And then here we have 300 grams of plain flour. Doesn't need to be strong flour because this isn't really going to prove. Obviously, strong flour has more gluten in it. It's better for gluten structural development. If you have strong flour, maybe use it, but I don't think it's really going to make a whole lot of difference. Today we're going to be using plain flour. And this recipe for the flatbreads is super, honestly, really, really quick. We're going to do this in like 2 seconds. So let's mix it up. Let's get going. So we've got going in here flour, ground spice mix, decent pinch of salt. And then we're just going to give this a quick mix together just to bring everything together roughly. And while this is mixing on slow, we're going to add in our 170 mils of warm water and 50 mils of neutral oil, in this case rapeseed oil. So we're just going to add this in slowly, and basically we just want this to come together. I'm using a stand mixer because I have one, and it's just easier. It doesn't involve my hands getting all, full of dough and stuff. But you can totally do this one by hand, like very easily do this one by hand. Scrape the edges down a little bit. You always kind of need to do that, so just kind of gently encourage the flour to become a part of the flatbread. Okay, so while this is going to knead for a few minutes, we're going to talk hummus. Well, I'm going to explain hummus to you. This guy is already kind of nearly done. I'm going to turn him off and let him rest for about 10 minutes. It's going to take us about 15 minutes to make our hummus. So by the time our hummus is made, this guy will be rested, he'll be ready to roll, and we'll be good to go. Then we can start making flatbreads, we can start eating hummus. These are the ingredients you're going to need to make roast sweet corn and chickpea hummus, which is the kind of hummus we're going to be making. This is something that I just kind of made up myself. It's a riff on hummus. It's half roasted corn, it's half chickpeas, and it's really, really good. You got to trust me on this. I have never made regular hummus since I've made this. This is the future of hummus. So we got one standard can of corn. I don't know how much is in a standard can of corn. Like 400 grams? 400 grams, 500 grams. Like a standard can of corn. Cans. Standard can size. So corn that has been drained, put into a tray. We've got 1 can of chickpeas that has also been drained, put into a little bowl here. We have sesame oil. I'd say there's about maybe 50 mils in here. Salt. 1 tablespoon of tahini. We've got our spice mix again of turmeric and curry powder. 2 cloves of garlic. And this lemon that I just kind of had on the go, it's not a full lemon, it's not a half lemon, it's about 3/4 of a lemon. Sometimes you just have a lemon on the go. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to need to roast our sweet corn in the oven. Very simple. Throw in our 2 cloves of garlic. You don't need to chop them up. I just want them to get a light roast. It doesn't matter if they're not fully cooked or anything. It's fine. They can still go into the hummus and no problems at all. Our oven is preheating on 180 degrees. We're just going to put a little drizzle of neutral oil onto this. In this case, it's sunflower oil. Just a little drizz. And then a small amount of salt as well onto this. And then we're just going to mix it up, make sure everything is coated, make sure everything is nice. And that's it. It's just garlic, a little bit of salt, oil, corn, into the oven we go. It's preheated at 180. We're going to do this for about 10 minutes. We just want the corn to get a little bit of color. Okay, so while the corn is roasting in the oven, we're going to deal with our dough here. It looks like it's a little bit wet. It might be slightly too wet, which is fine because we can always add. We can't take away. So just get them out onto the table. We've got some flour here, just plain flour that we're going to dust the table with first. Get a dough card if you have it, otherwise you can just use your hands, but a dough card is going to make your life easier. Get them out on here that we're going to use to make our flatbreads with. So get a good bit of flour on him. It's nice and soft, it's easy to work with, but it's probably a little bit too soft, but that's okay. We're just going to incorporate some more flour in here. You want it to be soft because you want your flatbreads to be nice and soft, basically. Okay, perfect. This little guy's good to go. So we're going to portion this up into little bowls, roll it out, flour them in between, and our flatbreads are going to be ready to cook as soon as our hummus is done. So it's all very easy, it's all very civilized, and that's what we're going to do right now. So normally how I do this, I just keep cutting everything in halves. So cut this guy in half, 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 cut this guy in half. I think that's probably a good size. Yeah, so you should get 8. That was fast maths. You should get 8 kind of flatbreads out of this. Get these guys into little bowls like we did before as well. Get them all nice and divided up. Flour them all. So in order to shape these guys, take them up, tuck all the corners, pull all the corners back like that. So it's almost like you're making a little dumpling. So it should look like a little dumpling near the bottom. And then just roughly shape it with your hands like that. Just nice little mounds. Okay, so we've got our 8 nice little dough balls ready to go here. And now we're good to roll out. So you're going to want to flour up whatever you're going to be putting these flatbreads on. They are very sticky, so make sure they're well floured. A little bit more flour. And we're just going to give these a little pat out. We don't want to roll them too flat because they're not going to expand a whole lot because there's no raising agent in these. So just nice little small flatbread size. You're making 8, so I'd say this is enough for 2 or 3 people. It really depends what else you're going to have with it. If you want to have some crudités with it or whatever else. If it's just flatbread, I'd say this is enough for 3 people. And then just liberally flour them up like this. All right, once your flatbreads are all rolled out, you can stack them on top of each other. Plenty of flour in between. Don't skimp on the flour. Leave them in a cool place. If you leave them somewhere too warm, they will stick together. So by the time those have been rolled out, your sweet corn should be pretty much ready to go. It takes about 10 minutes. And then we're going to start making our hummus. Hummus is done. We'll start cooking the flatbreads and then we are ready to eat. All right, so our corn is ready. Oh my days. All right, so our corn has gotten nice and roasted. Okay, now we're moving on to the hummus stage of the flatbreads and hummus process. We've got our roasted corn and garlic in here, chickpeas, sesame oil, salt, regular oil, lemon, turmeric and curry powder, tahini. All right, let's go. Get your jug of your blender out and we're literally just gonna blend most of this together. We're gonna stream in the oil at the end to get it kind of like a nice and emulsified. So get our corn in here, closely followed by our chickpeas, our turmeric and curry powder, our tablespoon of tahini. Squeeze in 6/8 of your lemon. Obviously you can use a full lemon if you want. This is just how lemon I had on the go. Don't worry about seeds getting in there because, you know, it's all going to be blitzed up anyway. It's all fine. And then we're going to get in our sesame oil. This looks like to be about 50 mils. Maybe it's a little bit less. Get that in there. And then we're going to add a decent pinch of salt in here. And then we're going to stream in a little bit more oil. We're not going to do that yet because we want it kind of to emulsify. So let's blitz this up first. Just get it on a slow speed first of all. Gradually increase the speed. So after that's been blitzing for about a minute, we're going to look at its status. So you can see it looks pretty good. It's, you know, it's nice and thick. I like my hummus to be quite thick because it scoops up really nicely on the flatbread. I'm going to add in a little bit of oil now. This already smells terrific. Just give it a scrape down. So this time, keep this little thing off or whatever hole you have on the top of your blender. And we're going to get it on a slow speed. And we're just going to stream in a small amount of oil. I'd say we're probably going to put in about 50 mils, just a little amount of oil. And when you're streaming it in, you can just increase the speed ever so slightly. Great. And we're going to adjust once more for seasoning. So just give it a little taste. Oh my God, it's so good. It's like nutty, it's roasted, got the zing of the lemon. It's really well seasoned. It's unreal. I cannot wait to sit down properly and eat this with some flatbreads. It's going to be gorge. So once you're finished, you can just scrape it into whatever bowl you're going to use for your dipping. Chives for the hummus. And once your hummus is done, we can garnish it with some chives. I got these from my balcony. I'm literally just going to cut them with the wee scissors. We also have some toasted sesame seeds here that we're going to grind on top. And that is your hummus portion of this recipe finished. All we need to do now is cook our flatbreads. Looks unreal. tastes even better. All right, the final step in all this hummus and flatbread business, we're gonna cook the flatbreads. They're super easy to cook. All you wanna do is crank this bad boy up on full. You're just gonna need a pan. You don't even need any cooking oil or fat, anything like that. Just a hot pan, your flatbreads, and somewhere to put them. All right, once your pan is really hot, we can start doing our flatbreads. Get your first one out. I'm just gonna dust off a little bit of this flour. Get him in there. These guys won't take much time in here at all. They cook extremely fast. So obviously these are flatbreads. They're not really gonna rise. If you were gonna make, are you looking at me?
Well, I'm the only one here.
So if you were gonna make a yeasted flatbread, these would rise. But I purely chose this recipe just because it's a little bit easier and they're both really nice. You know, they both get like a really nice soft texture, so it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. Just gonna see. Okay, let's not do that then. So once the flatbread starts to rise a little bit, we've got some bubbles kind of coming up here. It's probably good to flip. Ooh, nice. You want it to get just a little bit colored on top, not majorly. It's okay if it gets a little bit black, that's not a big deal. But you just want to cook it evenly on both sides. It takes about a minute and a half on each side. It's pretty quick. The second half will cook slightly faster. And there you have it, hummus and flatbreads a la mix it up. The roasted corn in the hummus is honestly going to change the way you think about hummus. I was never a massive hummus fan. You know, I just couldn't really get into it that much. And since I started making this, I love it so much. I make it all the time. It's kind of always knocking around the fridge. And the flatbreads, you can knock them up so quick if you don't have any bread in the house, or, you know, you want something just with a little bit more effort. These are great. This works for breakfast. It works for lunch, snacks, supplemented dinner, whatever you want. It's such a versatile, easy kind of combination. And I hope you really enjoy making it. Don't be afraid to mix it up. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below if you enjoyed the video. Slide into my DMs on Instagram. I'm at Holly Dalton Chef. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.